Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Good Bit Podcast. We are here finally after what feels like weeks of build-up. We are here for our 2023 Halloween special. Yes, we have finally arrived at the scariest week of the year, apparently. This is our Halloween / scary movie / horror movie / favourite films to watch around this time of year special of the Good Bit Podcast. If this was a Simpsons episode, this would be Treehouse of Horror number 42. And the way the Simpsons are going, we could be at Treehouse of Horror 42 very, very soon. Welcome in again, everybody. Lovely to have you here. Hopefully you are still with us after this great run of episodes. Hopefully you've been tuning in. I've been getting lots of lovely feedback from you lovely listeners, which is always greatly appreciated. And also we will have some listener engagement in this episode as I put the call out to you all on the social medias, which is at the Good Bit Pod on Instagram, Twitter /X, and yes, TikTok is now a thing for the Good Bit Podcast, ladies and gents. Make sure you follow us on TikTok at the Good Bit Pod. This week, ladies and gents, I have two of my favourite recurring guests on the show, returning to the show for the first time in 3 weeks, I believe, 3 or 4 weeks after he was last chatting about John Carpenter's The Thing. It is Mr. Michael Geary, and the one and only Greg Jones is back on the show. Guys, welcome to the show. It's lovely to see you.
Wearing my John Carpenter t-shirt today.
Oh, very nice.
The Thing.
Oh, very nice. I'm assuming you've been recognised in the streets. People have been sending you fan mail because you're on the podcast. I'm so grateful, which is funny because it's audio.
It's been hard. They won't leave me alone, Chris. Being hounded.
Sorry.
Hounded.
We just start doing like that theme song to The Thing, just in the distance. Dum, 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 dum. And yes, we can't start without saying, Greg, congratulations. I'm married man.
Thank you.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you very much. It is the best. Is literally the best feeling. It's so good.
I mean, just watching all the antics on social media and seeing you on your honeymoon, which looked like the greatest honeymoon ever. Universal Studios. So tell us about your time.
Ooh, I mean, where do you even start? We just had 2 incredible weeks. We were in parks for every day bar 2 days. One day was because we were really ill, and then the other day was because we kind of like wanted a day of like going around the local area, which was an incredible experience. And we worked out that we walked about 180,000 steps, which equated in distance to about 4.5 marathons that we walked over those 2 weeks. So we're knackered. But
yes,
this is going to be awful for anybody that's just an audio listener. But while at Disney, I fulfilled a total childhood lifelong dream here. And at one of the parks known as Universal Studios, they've got the Star Wars known as Galaxy's Edge, and you can book on to do a lightsaber building experience. And this, like chaps, this was the stuff of dreams. So you go in and it's this really immersive environment, and you're while outside they say, what path do you want to choose? And there's 4 different paths that you can go down, and it's things like peace and justice, or like nature and harmony, and all of these paths will choose what crystal you're given. And when you go inside, you stood around this huge table, and there's the basically like the master of ceremonies that's speaking about the whole experience. And then you've got a card that must have a symbol on it that the staff know which kind of like path you've chosen, because you put the card on the table in front of you, and they bring this huge container that's just covered in crystals, and the path that you've chosen, that crystal will be lit up. And I'm like, it's such a tiny little detail, but must require so much planning to get it just right.
Right.
And you take your crystal out, and they give you a little like internal hilt, and then they put a tray in front of you that loads of different parts based on what path you've chosen. So I went for power and control because I knew it would get me a red Sith lightsaber. Because that's the kind of guy I am.
Yeah.
So, and
Darth Greg.
and then eventually you build a hilt, and this is my one. So sorry for any audio, awful, but it's a black and silver designed saber with like some exposed red wires, and at the top it kind of looks like the spiky wings of like a TIE destroyer.
Cool.
And so your crystals inside, and you build it however you want. And when there's no blade, it won't work. But then you get the actual blade itself, and it just has this beautiful moment when you click it in. Oh, and then you ignite. Oh, and it's so good. And it's just delicious.
So jealous.
So I went. There's like a little shop next door that's called is it called something like Doc Andors or something like that? Ombar. And it's meant to feel like a store where the owner of the store has traveled the galaxy onto all the battlefields and taken like leftover lightsabers. So you can go and buy like the characters' hilts and things like that.
Right.
But you can buy extra crystals for your lightsaber. So I've got a couple of different colors to kind of like make the most out of this hilt.
So did that guy get
amazing.
most of his stock after Order 66?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Just wipe the board.
This guy doesn't sound like a good guy.
Yeah, I'm funding that guy.
I was going to say, the thing I love about that is that they could just have this really cool experience where you go in and just buy a lightsaber. But the fact that it's so detailed, it's just amazing, and just makes you just want to go, and you would do it again, you know?
Well, you think that the first session you can go in and build is at like 9 a.m, and then the last one I think is about like 6 or 7 at night, and there's 20 people each time, and it's always just fully booked.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, man.
Were you feeling before you went in? Was there a point where you were just overwhelmed?
Oh yeah, totally. Like so Luce was standing next to me, and my friend Jules, who was at Lipper with me, she lives in Florida, and she traveled all the way over for our wedding, and then went all the way back to show us all the way around Disney as well. It was just incredible. So she filmed my reaction walking around and going into Galaxy's Edge, and the second that I saw the Falcon in person, all the emotions came racing to my eyes. It was indescribable. Yeah. So it was pure magic. It was pure magic. The whole experience, like I say to anybody, it was horrifically expensive. But if it's one of those things that you're desperate to do, it's a once in a lifetime thing. Like,
right.
We won't regret it ever for the rest of our lives. It was so worth doing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, pure magic. Sorry, long story short, it was very good.
Yes, a married man now. Listen, and that's so incredible to see all the stuff you were getting up to, and the fact you got your own lightsaber, knowing that you have your own crystal in there must be so satisfying.
It's really cool. It's really cool. Yeah.
Nice one.
Yeah. It was very, very good.
Yeah. I'm jealous. I'll definitely. I have been to Universal, but I haven't done the whole experience like that. So it's definitely something. I think it was developed after I'd been, so I'll definitely get there at some point in the next few years, hopefully. And I'd love to be able to do that as well. Yes. So it is this time of year, lads. It is Halloween-y sort of thing, and I have to be honest. Like, I know I'm supposed to be the host here, right? But I'm not the most horror fanatic, as I spoke to you about last time, Michael. I'm not, I'll appreciate any film regardless of genre, regardless of the film. It doesn't matter what kind of mood I'm in or whatever. I will still, embrace the good parts of the film and stuff, the good bits of the film, I should say. But when it comes to horror, I do know the least in terms of knowledge and fandom and stuff like that. And you recommended me to check out Poltergeist. That was my homework, and I can admit I have done so. And I watched. Yeah, just hearing that made me scared, because it was a terrifying film, but I loved it. I really did enjoy it. I liked the fact that it was more kind of family orientated than I was expecting. I thought it was going to be like total ghost story, especially I've seen all, throughout time, the kind of memes of the television and the little girl and the fuzziness and stuff. And just that idea is really scary. There's, as a spirit or whatever coming into your house via your TV. It's terrifying. But it wasn't as terrifying as I was expecting. There wasn't many jump scares that always get me. It was a more of a family kind of classic 80s film. 80s, is it right? I'm sure.
Yep.
Really enjoyed it. So thank you for the recommendation. And now I can say I have seen another classic horror film.
Quite right too. It's an amazing movie, and they get away with a lot with the rating that they put on it. But that's, I think, Steven Spielberg's speciality. He always seems to be able to go, "Come on, guys, let's just it's not
Yeah.
And I think he famously did that with the Temple of Doom, because there's some horrific stuff in it. And I think he got like a PG-13 on that. So he's a very influential chap. But obviously, Poltergeist is, I think, a really good entry-level horror movie.
Yeah,
because it's funny. It's got, at its heart, there's love to it, which is wonderful. The family is amazing. All the actors are fantastic. Zelda Rubinstein is fantastic as Tangine, the woman who goes, your house is clean. She's so great. I love her in that. I love her in everything. But I think what's really nice is there's this idea of technology and reason meeting the unstoppable force of the supernatural. And I love that. I always love that, and I'll be bringing that up a bit later when I talk about another favorite of mine.
Nice. As a little spoiler, I don't know. Foreshadowing, I don't know. But yeah,
trailer for you.
It's a trailer. Yeah, this is the part I usually go to the toilet because I don't want to get anything spoiled for me. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, and it's another classic that I can. The way you just kind of like to say that you've seen these things. I get really embarrassed when there's like these classic films, and I have to be like, yeah, no, not seen that one yet. So when you've finally seen a big one, you go, yes, that's a good one to check off the list. Greg, I don't know about you. Are you a big horror fan? Are you a scary movie guy? What's your thoughts?
I love horror movies. Love them. Absolutely love them. I've prepared.
Of course you have.
I prepared a little pile of
Your
what
collection.
I like essential horror movies. So again, apologies for any audio listeners, but it's a pile of what I would say are like real essential like horror movies, and some that if you haven't seen them, it's worth checking them out. But I love horror movies. I used to watch them like all the time, like super late at night, and try and just scare myself silly with them. Lately, I've kind of not seen as many. But there's one that I bought here that I managed to find online. I was like, I can't wait to see that again before Halloween. And that is, I don't know if you've seen 30 Days of Night.
Yes. Great movie.
So have you seen it, Chris?
No, not seen it.
Okay. So
based on a graphic
Mike's
novel.
Can already know this. So it's set in the Alaskan town of Barrow. So this is 30 Days of Night.
Oh, cool.
And for 30 days, once a year, this particular like region just doesn't experience the sun. And during this time, a group of vampires stumbles upon the town and goes, there is a lot of food here.
Nom, 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 nom.
And it's so intense. And I think it portrays vampires exactly how I would want to see them.
These are not vampires from Twilight.
No. They do not sparkle in the sun.
They are not pretty sparkly vampires who are really sad because they're so rich.
And handsome.
So God,
it's really sad because I'm going to live forever and I'm really strong and I'm really good looking and I sparkle when sunlight hits me.
Just don't touch me. You smell too good. And you're like, oh, stop it.
Look, I'm actually, full confession, I do like the Twilight films. Okay, I'm going to say that we watch them every year. But
where is the leave button?
These, but because I just appreciate there's stuff in it which is really good. It's great, but no, they're nonsense.
Listen, I love the fact that you've admitted that, because I also have just watched them for the first time this year, and it was a recurring theme on the podcast. Will I ever watch Twilight? I keep saying nope, 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 nope. But I made my partner watch all of Star Wars, and she watches wrestling with me all the time, and and I took her to the cinema to see Jaws and all this stuff, and she's like, "You have to watch these films with me. Come on." I was okay, right? How many is there? 2? She's like 5. So I was like, great. So we've watched through them. And the first one, I was like, you know what? I've seen worse. But full disclosure, I've seen 4 so far. There's still one to go, and I keep putting it off. So there you go.
Well, I'm gonna sell the 5th one to you, and the 5th one to you is sold entirely on one moment, and it's the moment where I can't remember the character. Is it Arlo? Is that the Michael Sheen lead vampire?
Yes.
Meets Renesmee, which is the dumbest name ever created for any character in any genre.
Great knowledge that you still remember that name.
Oh, how can't you? Yeah. How can't you? It's like a trauma when you hear that word. Like that's anyway. When he sees Renesmee, who is this unusual hybrid of human and vampire. Spoilers. Michael Sheen. He's one of my favorite actors in the whole world. He's amazing, and he lets out this noise. And I don't know if he went, all right, guys, I'm going to try something, or he read it by anybody, but he did it. They kept it in, and it's brilliant. It is the classic example of someone saying, make a bold choice, and he just does it, and it's incredible. You could just look up Arlo's laugh or Arlo's reaction on YouTube, and it's just worth looking at. It's an amazing sound.
Whenever we end up watching this film, I'll watch for it or I'll listen for it, and then knowing that you've said that now, then I'll know it's coming. So...
It's an extraordinary thing. But 30 Days of Night is brilliant.
Okay, yes. I'll note it down. So, I'll note 30 Days of Night.
Yeah, now
30 Days of Night.
Greg, remind who's the lead actor?
It's Josh Hartnett.
Josh Hartnett, yeah, he's so good.
So good.
And then, Danny Houston's in it, plays lead vampire, doesn't he?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, he was he was in the X-Men films.
Yeah,
but the newer ones. Yes. Yeah.
He's fantastic. Yeah, he's fantastic in that. I was introduced to him once, like this place, and he went, "Hello, I'm Danny," and I was like, "Yep, I'm scared," because he's a big guy, and also he was the scary vampire. It's great. It's such a it's such a good that's a really good choice, and it's beautiful as well.
So well shot, considering most of it's in the dark.
Yeah.
But it's this. The whole movie is this desperate plight to stay alive, and just one by one, everybody's just getting picked off one by one, and it's really intense feeling. And I love horror movies where there are so many situations where it's like, oh, and the good guys managed to get away just at the last moment. It's like, no, if they were not quick enough or smart enough, they're dead. And I think it's a really, really, really clever horror. And the vampires are super fast, and they make this kind of like screaming noise when they like jump on like prey. It's this kind of
it doesn't seem pleasant for them to be vampires, though, does it?
No, God, no. And their teeth are like incredibly long and sharp, and they're all covered in blood, and their eyes are just jet black. It's a brilliant, brilliant film, and I'm desperately getting this week.
Nice. I might watch it now. Thanks, Greg. That's a really good
recommendation. It's good. It's so good.
I'll absolutely watch it this week, or even around this sort of time. The past few weeks in the podcast, because we're coming to this sort of time of year, I keep saying to everybody, whoever I've got on the podcast, I'm like, sell me on horror films, like tell me why I should watch more. And because I love the fact that the genre is so popular and stuff, and I do enjoy a lot of them. I just don't know much about them. I don't have that real desire and that thrill that people have when they're about to be scared. It's not my type of thing, I guess. But over the past few weeks, I've had a lot of good recommendations and stuff, and I'll add that one to the list. That sounds good.
What other ones have you had recommended to you, Chris?
Let's have a look. I've noted some down. So the first one that was definitely mentioned to me was REC. Rec, how do you pronounce it? 2007.
Yes.
Do you know what? We watched that a number of years ago, right? I was on tour, and my amazing wife Leanne, who you both know, came to stay. We were in this little sort of cottage in the middle of nowhere in North Wales, and it was pitch black. It was weekends, and we had a few drinks in, a bit of food in. It was lovely, little fire going. And I said, "Oh, I got this film to watch. Do you remember Love Film?"
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I got my little Love Films DVD through,
and send it back.
Yeah, I loved it. I'm not going to bang on about how great Blockbuster was and Love Film, but they were great. And I said to her, "Yeah, this is it's a Spanish horror movie," and I showed it to her, and she went, it's like 75 minutes long. What can they do in 75 minutes? Chris, turns out they could do a lot. A lot.
It was scary.
Okay.
I'm not going to swear, but it was flipping terrifying and brilliant.
You're supposed to be selling me on this.
Yeah. Well, if you want to watch it, a horror movie, you got one there in Rec. It's great. Is it the original Spanish version? Yeah.
2007 is the one I was recommended.
Yes, absolutely, because it was remade as what was it remade as?
I don't know, but I have over the last week I've asked a bunch of the Good Bit listeners to send in some suggestions, which I'll read out the ones I did receive.
Please do.
And a good friend of the show, Josh Whitelaw, recommended Rec, and this was his quote: "Not the bullshit remake called Quarantine."
That's the one.
That's it. Quarantine.
Great. Really good.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
He's got the right of it. Yep. Got the right of it there.
Yep.
Big respect. Was it Josh?
Josh, yeah.
Respect, Josh.
Fellow actor.
Good one,
cool. All the ones that were recommended to me. A recent one, The Pope's Exorcist. Didn't fancy it whatsoever.
No.
Also, The Babadook.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, it's a worrying movie. Oh, don't, Greg, I knew you'd do that, and that's terrifying. You're not allowed to do that.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
And recently, because it's just appeared on Netflix, the original Saw. Never seen it.
Do you know what? That movie's a good movie.
Yeah, brilliant.
It works entirely off tension. Whereas
the second one was quite good.
Not too
Especially
bad.
The syringe pit is without a doubt one of the most haunting things of all time.
It is. There is a point where those movies just become like, how are we going to tear this person apart? Which I'm not into torture movies, but I think what the Saw franchise did, I think, is that they sort of reawakened the love of Grand Guignol. The viscera and guts, the shows they used to do in like the 19th century of like people having bits and pieces ripped out of them and torn off on stage. And I'd love to reawaken that. That was an extraordinary thing. But yeah, that I guess that's what Saw is Grand Guignol, isn't it? It's like that going back to that great tradition and really disgusting, sick tradition of Grand Guignol.
I was also a film that kind of like reignited big franchises all set within the same storyline, because you think, okay, obviously we've got things like Fast and the Furious now, and we've got all the Marvel movies, but really I can't think off the top of my head another series of films before like Iron Man kicked off the MCU other than Saw that went on for so long,
right? Because
we've just now had the 10th entry in the series, but it's technically Saw like 12 because you had Jigsaw and then you've had but that's a lot of films for one storyline.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? And do you want to play a game is a really
so good,
great, it's a great and what's lovely is there's a rule. That's great. Got to ban Greg from doing scary voices. No, don't. They're great. They're really good. And it was and again, in the grand tradition of a lot of great horror movies, it was super low budget. It was high concept, low budget, which is what I love about great horror movies and great horror movie makers. And again, I'll bring that back around on the film I'm going to talk about later.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't take this suspense. It's almost like this is a horror film.
Yeah.
All right, so the lovely
Isn't it, Chris?
Also, do you want to play a game? I didn't realize that was from Saw. There you go. I've heard that quote all my life.
Yeah,
it was from Saw. There you go.
So good.
Do you want to build a snowman? Oh wait, that's different. That's
another really scary film.
Snaw. SNAW. No, it doesn't work. But
listen, I'll take it. If it means I get to watch Frozen instead of a scary film, I'll do it. All right. So the lovely Good Bit listeners have sent in some suggestions of films that they consider their favorite Halloween / scary films. I didn't want to just be like favorite horror films because I feel like that might brand it in some way. You know, if it's a scary film, it doesn't need to be horror. It could be a thriller, or you might watch a kind of scarier film around Halloween time that doesn't have like blood and guts and stuff like that. So I left it open to whatever the listeners think. So we have Eve Hamill has suggested Scream from 1995. There is one I have seen.
Classic, brilliant. Yep, there it is.
Yeah, nice. And that's a class Blu-ray, by the way. That cover.
Beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That's it's just simply this is again. Sorry, audio listeners. It's the Steelbook, and it's the
beautiful.
Earth is it's like the hunting blade, but the reflection of Ghostface, and on the back it's like, "Do you like scary movies?" Which is just that voice.
Hello,
Ghostface's voice. Oh, it's so good.
It's so good.
And if you watch the clip of how he created that voice, it's fascinating.
And look, there's no voice changer in the world that makes you sound like that. If I would like that, I'd get a lot more work.
Yeah.
But it is brilliant, and it's also
Sydney.
The problem is we're just going to keep saying these things to each other, and that's all people can listen to, and that's going to be awful. So sorry. Just catchphrases. What is really interesting, that was Wes Craven's, I think, second meta horror movie. The first being The Final Nightmare, which is when Freddy Krueger goes after the lead actors from A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Interesting.
Clever.
It's brilliant. Wes Craven did it often copied, never bettered. Really, that's a great, and that opening sequence with Drew Barrymore.
Right.
Oh my God, it was so sad as well.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
So this, for me, my favorite kind of horror is, I say favorite, it's the horror that I appreciate the most because I find it the most terrifying, is home invasion horror.
Right.
Because it could happen. And one especially, so I've got my little pile of recommendations. So Scream was one, but my all-time recommendation for a true, just on the edge of your seat horror is this little number called The Strangers. Now, this, if you haven't seen it, is the epitome of home invasion, because what they've done for the storyline is they took loads of true crime reports of things that happened to people during home invasions and just put it into one story. So it's Liv Tyler, who goes back to a cabin in the middle of the woods, and she's just said no to her boyfriend to marrying him. So he's made it all romantic, and they've gone back, and it's just sad. And it's just instantly, the mood is just so low that you think, how can this get worse? And then there's a knock at the door, which is this infamous bam, 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 bam. And then anytime the characters go to the door, the person behind's like in the darkness, and they go, "Is Tamara home?" No, she's not here. Are you sure? Yes. And then later on, these people just decide to come in and just try and cause as much bloodshed and carnage as possible. It's pure, utter terror. And what's really nice is that the camera very, very rarely leaves Liv Tyler. So you're kind of experiencing it all as she's going through it. And it's just outstanding. But for me, it's just sheer terrifying.
So
that's the scariest film.
That sounds great and totally sold me on it. I'll definitely check it out. Now, that is obviously a really scary subject, right? You obviously said that's one of your worst fears. It's something that could really happen. It's a home invasion and stuff. What is it about the film then that makes you want to, potentially rewatch or really love because it's something that's a real life, saying a scary thing for you, if you get what I mean?
It's because how I was thinking about this while we were away on holiday on roller coasters. How kind of like first world of us is it that we pay to get scared? Like, that's such a privilege that we pay to be scared by something.
Right.
And I'm like, how insane is that we pay to like experience adrenaline and fear? And I suppose with this, it's the thought of that's kind of like one of my worst nightmares coming true. But it's not having to actually go through it. You get to kind of just see it and go, yeah, that's utterly terrifying. But at least it's not happening.
Right.
Not happening right now.
This is where I can possibly describe it.
Yeah, I think John Carpenter, who's one of my favorite directors ever, you know this, Chris. He said that the horror movies aren't there to create fear; they're there to cure it.
Oh,
and
nice.
You do, I think, Greg. I think you're right. There's a purging element to it.
I
didn't mean like that.
Is that a segue? I see.
Yeah. The Purge is a great movie. Purge is not quite home invasion, though, is it? Because everyone's like, "Hey, everyone, it's that time of year again. We all get to murder each other."
Yeah.
Which is also brilliant. but I think you're right. Those movies, it's interesting. Those movies are the ones I find most difficult to watch because they're the ones that could happen. I like monsters and supernatural and things that we know won't get us probably.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas the most terrifying thing in the world is other people.
Oh, totally.
Especially you two.
Yeah, I know. Or people at the cinema. People at the cinema. Literally last night or the night before, I went to see the new Martin Scorsese film, Killers of the Flower Moon, which, again, I'm not the biggest fan of long films, but I thought, you know what? It's a big film. It's probably going to be nominated for about 600 Oscars. Yeah. I might as well go see it on the big screen because I probably won't watch it in the house. So 3 hours and 24 minutes in the cinema. And I'm sitting there watching it, really enjoyed it. I felt as if I went on the journey with characters. I felt like I saw a beginning, middle, and end of a story. It kind of felt like I binged a TV show, right, on the big screen. Right. And Martin Scorsese said that. I saw an interview with him this week where he said, I want you to kind of go on that journey, and then when you leave, you've seen it. It's happened, and you've been with them, and you've been with all the people in the cinema with you on that journey. And my God, for 3 hours and 24 minutes, just people coughing, talking, rustling papers, dropping stuff. The people behind us dropped their phone. It must have been 6 times. It was crazy. I just don't understand how people can go to the cinema for that length of time and still make such a noise and such a mess. I don't know.
It's the worst experience now for me, unless you go to a place where you have film lovers, like the Prince of Charles, for example, is a pretty good place. I'd rather spend a lot of money and go to an expensive cinema where people aren't there to mess about than go, because I can't enjoy myself.
Can't relax.
I'm a grumpy old man, but there you go.
Well, I never said that.
But it was implied. But it's like people don't know how to behave themselves in the cinema anymore because they think it's their living room. It's the same as like theater now. People don't know how to behave themselves. Oh my God. But some of the best experiences I've had, horror lends itself really well to this, is a horror movie can be a massive party atmosphere because you get everyone reacting at the same time.
Yeah.
Big styly. And the good movies are the ones that allow your audience recovery time from the big jumps. And then it sort of doesn't matter about the audience because it doesn't matter about the talking. It doesn't matter about, it's just because it brings everyone together brilliantly. And if I'm watching a Scorsese film, I want everyone to shut up so I can just watch and concentrate. I remember going to a cinema once and there was a re-release of 2001: A Space Odyssey, right? And it was brilliant, obviously, brilliant film. And there's a section in that movie where there's like, I don't know, it's like 6 minutes of total silence. And and I remember watching it, and I was like watching this moment when, and then I heard on the same row next to me, I just heard,
Oh.
and I just kind of, for people listening in, I'm turning sideways to the camera, and then I'm just going to give Chris and Greg very slow side eye like this. My neck rotated with complete disbelief. Like, look at these guys going, I think I'm going to kill them. I didn't, but but you're like, choose your moment. Choose your moment. There's loads of stuff going on in this movie. But anyway, it's fine.
Another scary film for different reasons. 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, existential dread.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
My favorite space set horror movie. Well, my second favorite space set horror movie is Event Horizon.
Oh, which they widely consider is as close as you can get to a Warhammer 40,000 movie.
If you travel without your Gellerfield, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's true nerdery has just broken out. I'm sorry, Chris.
It's that's a scary film.
It's Event Horizon.
It's a brilliant movie. When they first showed it to test audiences, there was such revulsion at certain points that they had to cut like 20 minutes out of it, and they've lost that footage.
Oh, what?
Oh,
that's gone. It's gone. Or whatever remains of it is unwatchable because of the quality of the film.
Damn.
But it's an extraordinary. I love it, and it's a haunted house film in space, and even to the point where certain parts of the spaceship they go into looks like a vaulted basement or cellar, but in like sort of brushed steel tiles. It's great. It's a great movie. Is that Paul W.S. Anderson? Is that right?
I don't know, but
to be honest.
What's the year?
1998.
Okay, I'll make sure I check that one out as well.
Sam Neill, Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh wow.
Sean Pertwee, Jolie Richardson. There's loads of great people in it.
I have to just go on a super quick slight tangent, purely because I think you may have already seen it on Instagram, but I think you'll both appreciate this. Just with my Neil. So it was my birthday, like just over a week ago, and my birthday gift from Luce was to go and see the 30th anniversary of Jurassic Park.
Oh,
with a live orchestra doing the soundtrack.
Oh man!
And believe me, that was just such an experience. And hearing the in the flesh was so surreal. It was just incredible. It was absolutely incredible, like pure goosebumps moment. So it was the first time we've ever done one of these movies where it's a live orchestra.
Oh, it's great.
And it was outstanding. I would do, if that was every movie, I would be in seventh heaven.
That'd be great.
It was so weird. They had they had an intermission as well. Like when Dennis Nedry crashes his car on top of the waterfall, it's this rising crescendo of music, and then the screen goes black and it comes up with intermission. I'm like, what? This was never here.
Weird.
Where's the Dilophosaurus?
That's weird. That kind of breaks the tension a bit, but okay.
Yeah. Sorry, slight tangent, but it was so good.
No, that's what happened when I saw 2001: A Space Odyssey, the reissue in the cinema. There was an intermission halfway through the film, and I was just like, "What? Are we supposed to leave?" Like, and just I didn't know what to do. You know, like it's never happened before. We could have
Musicians Union, man. Musicians Union. They're a brilliant union. What can I say? They get their breaks.
Right. We could have used a break in between Killers of the Flower Moon, but we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I've never done one of the live orchestras with a film, and I'm just dying to, because one of my best mates saw Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I saw you were at Jurassic Park. I would love to do it. So
I've dragged Leanna along to a couple of those. We went to see Star Wars, and we went to see Aliens.
Nice.
And that was amazing because sorry, this is tangent. Well, it's kind of it's not horror, it's an adventure film. But uh, there's a bit in the score, and I was looking at the percussion section. This person right at the back was going, have they got an anvil? Yep, because there's a lovely moment where you can hear this anvil strike, tink, in that's the sound of an anvil strike, by the way.
That's good, yeah.
Voice actor available for hire. And they had this anvil. I was so excited about someone hitting an anvil. It was hilarious. But I had a huge nerdy thrill moment because I thought I was being very funny when I because we went to see that, and then we went to see another movie then after that. We did a double in the day, but as we were like going across London, I just put a little tweet out saying loved Aliens at Royal Albert Hall. You know, there's a hashtag for the whole thing. Had a great time. We saw the matinee, but I hear the orchestra mostly play in the evenings. And then I got a reply tweet from Carrie Henn going, mostly. I was like, that's amazing. Newt just reached out to me. That's amazing. I was so excited. Very nerdy.
That's great. I'll definitely keep an eye out for the live orchestra along with films coming up soon. I need to check it. They do them at the Glasgow Royal Concert Hall. I'll definitely need to check it out.
It's worth it.
A few more listener suggestions. Tia Stevenson asks, does the Addams Family count?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, it's gothic. It's Halloween.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a brilliant movie. It's a brilliant movie. Raul Julia is brilliant Gomez, as is obviously Christina Ricci. Is that
Ricci?
She's fantastic as Wednesday. You got the amazing Christopher Lloyd.
Right, amazing performance.
Oh my God. And
is it Angelica Houston?
Yes, thank you. As Morticia. And she's so stunning. There's so much amazing stuff in that film. That's a great choice. Although the soundtrack is weird because there seems to be a contractual obligation of movies in the 90s that there has to be a rap.
Oh, really?
And there's the Addams Family rap.
Nice. I was going to say, have either of you seen the Addams Family musical, the stage show?
Yeah.
No.
It's amazing.
I actually prefer it to the film.
Fair enough. There's some great songs in that. Yeah, it's really, really good. Yeah, we were lucky enough to see it on Broadway years ago.
Oh wow!
It was amazing. Yeah, it's the only Broadway show I've ever seen. But yeah.
Is that the one with what's his face who played Gomez?
Nathan Lane.
Nathan Lane.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow!
Nathan Lane was Gomez, and Bebe Neuwirth was Morticia. I mean,
wow! And Carrie Hope Fletcher, I believe, played Wednesday. Is that right?
Oh my God! Yeah. Are you googling?
Flipping heck!
No, I'm not.
Oh my God! That's very impressive.
Look, that for knowledge. Don't know
that's very impressive.
No, I did a show of the Addams Family once. I don't sing. I'm not a singer. I'm not a dancer whatsoever. But I played Gomez, and I had to sing in this accent that I created. It must have offended someone. All right. We also have Stephen Conroy suggests Halloween, 1978, absolute classic.
Well, yeah. I mean, go on, Greg.
Oh, I can literally only think of the theme tune. That's literally. I know there's the. Oh my God! I just unlocked like a core memory. I was tiny, and I mean tiny, and I remember my mum and dad watching that, and all that I ever saw was the opening scene, and that haunted me for years in my life.
Absolutely.
And it was just that first person shot of that. I mean, I was kind of like, I'm going to be a very big brave boy. I'm going to watch it on YouTube. And it wasn't remotely as scary as I thought it was. But back then, that was terrifying. And just a little kid putting on a mask and taking out his big kitchen knife and going and killing was it his sister at the time?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
It's a good movie. And again, very low budget. And the money they made back was huge. Getting Donald Pleasance on board was, quite a thing. And Jamie Lee Curtis was amazing in it. And I think she's the original Final Girl, maybe.
Oh,
I think so. I
think that might be it. I mean, there's a really interesting book called Men, Women, and Chainsaws by Carol Clover, or Professor Carol Clover, I think. And it's about the idea, the sort of the idea of the final girl and lots of other things in there, and it's a really interesting read. It's a fascinating book, but I read it years ago. But it is really interesting. It talks a lot about that. But yeah, and the theme tune's amazing. The lore created around it, it wasn't meant to be a massive, huge thing, but they got the money to do the sequel. And then when John Carpenter said, okay, with the third one, let's start an anthology series. We're finished with Michael Myers. Let's just do this anthology. And that's where Halloween 3 Season of the Witch came in. People didn't like it because he didn't have the guy in the William Shatner mask. But
exactly, yeah.
But because they got the William Shatner mask because that was the cheapest mask they could get a hold of. They had to get loads and loads and loads and loads of them, which I think is genius. Imagine if it was a Leonard Nimoy mask, how that would have changed everything.
Oh. Or a George Takei mask or something.
Yeah, amazing. That'd be great. But the third one, I think, is an absolutely brilliant film. It's a brilliant film. It's a cracker. It's got nothing to do with Michael Myers, but it's got. Have you seen it, Greg?
No, I've seen the first one, and then Halloween H20,
and
that's
with Josh Hartnett.
Yes, with Josh Hartnett. Yes,
yeah.
But then I know that they did like a brand new trilogy, didn't they?
Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends.
Yes. Yeah. Did they ever actually explain why he just doesn't die?
I mean, that's the thing. I don't know. I haven't seen them, and I don't ever want anyone to explain things to me. I want weird mystery. It's like someone say to you, I hear you like puppies. Yeah, I do. I love puppies. Well, let me show you how one works. And there you go. Split one open. That's a puppy. Do you still like it? No, I don't. There's puppy everywhere. What did you do that for? Because you like puppies. You want to see the inner workings. No, I don't care. I just accept they're there.
Yeah.
Leave the puppy alone. Yeah. Don't hurt puppies, everyone.
No, absolutely not. No, if that's the one message people take away from this episode.
Don't hurt the puppies.
My very own sister Rachel suggests Hocus Pocus is her favourite Halloween film. She also loves Coraline and also loves Beetlejuice only because she just saw it in a very cool outdoor cinema where she got loaded fries and iced cocktails.
I mean, you can't argue with that.
Hello.
I'm sure she meant frozen cocktails. I don't want cocktails that are not iced.
And great choices. Great choice. Coraline's terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Hocus Pocus is hilarious. Have you seen the new one?
No, I didn't watch it.
No,
I haven't seen it either.
No,
I'll have to see it at some point. But it's really, that Hocus Pocus is great, really good stuff. And Beetlejuice, of course, is
classic. Yeah,
brilliant.
I have to read this one while you're here, Michael. Good friend of the show, Emma Houston, says The Blob, 1988, and her response to that was, "Give that bad boy a search."
Yep. Emma, you are talking my language right now. The Blob is amazing, and in fact, there's a good friend of mine who I've mentioned before to you who wants to come on and talk. Maybe we could do a little group one.
That's right, The Blob. That's right.
Do a double on The Blob and The Mist.
Oh, that sounds good to me. Yeah,
both involved. I mean, Frank Darabont directed The Mist, and he wrote The Blob, or certainly contributed towards the script anyway. And it shows because they do this thing I think we were talking about before, where Emma, brilliant choice. Where they take time to create the world in which our characters live. They create the platform of stability before they plunge everything into chaos. And it's brilliant filmmaking, which we rarely see nowadays.
When she suggested that on the Instagram post to put up, I just laughed because I knew obviously you were coming on. And Greg, last time Michael was here, we were talking about the thing, and he was like, "The next one we're doing is The Blob," and I had to do it. So, yes, I will check it out, and we'll do a double bill, a double blob, The Blob and The Mist.
The Blob and The Mist. It's you're in for an interesting evening if you watch those at the same time,
back to back.
Oh my god. Yeah, you might not want to speak to me, but enjoy The Mist, Chris.
I'll try. I'll do my best. Maybe a bit foggy, but I'll try.
Hello.
Here we go. And finally, my auntie Charmaine Rooney says The Shining. And I believe The Shining is the best horror film I've ever seen. And I always say is my favourite one because it did scare the daylights out of me. But I, at the same time, loved the film, you know?
It's a great film. What can you say about The Shining that hasn't been said already? Nothing. It's amazing. It's
always been the caretaker. I should know, sir. I've always been here.
I love it.
Just the most frightening thing is the design of that bathroom. It's so beautifully clean and like it's like, wow, this is like the devil's bathroom. It's gorgeous. You know, the one, you know, with all the reds, it's got like the red in there. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
And I love Jack Nicholson in it. But what's really interesting is in the book, he's supposed to be like just a normal family man.
Right.
Yes.
Whereas, whereas there's some people have said, you know, oh, well, they watch The Shining and the strapline is a brooding psychopath takes his family on holiday and continues to be a psychopath. But that might be a little bit harsh. It's a great movie. It's a brilliant movie.
I mean, just the idea of the kind of the long hotel corridors, I think, really freaked me out, you know, not knowing what's round the corner and stuff. I was in a hotel on Friday and I thought about it. The two little girls just still freak me out every time I see them in like memes and stuff like that online. Still to this day, it freaks me out. And speaking of still to this day, it freaks me out when I see it. Technically, I've talked all this time on this episode about me not being a big horror fan, but technically, my favorite movie of all time is a horror film, and it is Jaws.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yes,
definitely.
Now, I know it's, you know, listed now as a thriller, and I know it's now rated a 12 on Sky Movies or whatever it is.
Extraordinary.
But at the time, obviously, known as the scariest film ever made, and 18, all these stories of people running out of the screens, throwing up on the aisles before they even reach the toilet, things like this. I don't think it's quite that level of violence. However, still to this day, when I see pictures of the shark, when I see pictures of Bruce, and I see clips of the film, GIFs online. I was doing the 30-day movie challenge last month, and I was posting GIFs of the shark and stuff like that. Still to this day, gives me a kind of uneasy feeling, and it is the film I've seen the most in my life. So it technically is a horror film, and is, in my opinion, the greatest film ever made.
Yeah, it's a mystery, turns into a thriller, then it becomes an adventure, then it becomes horror. Because there's a point where the shark ceases to be a shark and becomes a monster.
Great point.
When it starts hunting the boat, that's when you know you're in terrible, terrible trouble.
It's very bad trouble.
Then no one cries at that bit, and I think that's really that's why I popped me out of the film. So I was on that boat, I'd be bawling my eyes out. It's going again. What are we gonna do? Give yourself to the shark.
Swim.
You must make friends with it. You know, I mean, it's
So yeah, tell us what these lovely segues you were making earlier on, these foreshadowing moments earlier on, Michael. What are some of your favourite films?
Well, I've got. I mean, I'm again sorry everyone, but I love what John Carpenter did in the 70s and the 80s, some of the 90s. But one of my favourite movies is this Prince of Darkness.
Nice.
It's a great film. 1987. He did it as a part of a 2-picture deal. Essentially, it was the time when he was getting it. He was finding it hard to get movies made because a couple of films hadn't done so well. People panned the thing at the box office because they were stupid, and he made Prince of Darkness for like $3 million, which is it's like an indie film. So what they did was they chose an amazing location, which is a church in LA, I think, and they went high concept, low budget, and it's about a priest played by the fabulous Donald Pleasance, who is summoned to another holy guy's, maybe another priest's deathbed. The guy dies. He finds a reliquary, and in there's a key, and he finds out about something called the Brotherhood of Sleep. And he goes to this church, and underneath the church, there's a 16th century crypt. So it's been there since, sort of before people really properly settled in the States. And in it, there is this cylinder containing something. And
I'm going to go get this tomorrow.
And things have been happening around the world. There's a supernova has been discovered, and the world is being bombarded by, it's talking about the particles passing through the world, all that kind of stuff. And he reaches out to a friend of his who teaches quantum theory in a university. And so played by the amazing, let me just double check. I think it's Victor Wong. Victor Wong, who played Egg Chen in Big Trouble in Little China.
Great film.
Great film. Big Trouble in China has one of the greatest lines in cinema, and also an amazing example of screenwriting. There's a moment where it's all kicking off. They're running around trying to find a way out, and Egg has disappeared. And then suddenly, from above them, a rope drops down. That's just bits and pieces all tied together. And he's up there looking down at them, taking the manhole cover off. And they just say to him, "How did you get up there?" And his answer was, "Wasn't easy." That's it. Wasn't easy. There was no side quest. There's no extra stuff. There's no flashback. It just says it wasn't easy, and they carry on with the movie.
It's great.
Brilliant. Efficient. Brilliantly delivered. You can't get any better than that. So he's the professor, and what he has is a class of PhD students. When I first saw this, I went, "Oh my God, these people don't like students. They're really old." But I went, "Oh yeah, they're PhDs, so they can be any age." And to bring them in to study this thing, to study what it is. And so again, it's this meeting of science, philosophy, religion, and then horror. They set up a little camp in the abandoned church. They bring all their little beds and stuff in there. They find little rooms. They set up all their equipment, lots of spinning things and flashing lights, to study this thing. And then they find out what it is. I'm not going to say anything more. It's really look. It's definitely restricted by budget, and it's definitely a movie of the 80s. But there is so much good stuff in there, and there are so many brilliant character actors in it. The score is another one of his great stripped down electronic synth scores. It really does. Basically, he said, "Look, I was reading a lot about quantum mechanics, and I thought, let's put that together with religion, and that's what they came up with." And also, Alice Cooper is in it.
Nice. So there you go.
It's great. It's a great movie. I love it. I love it.
Nice. I'll add it to the list. Not seen it.
Please,
not seen.
Let me know what you think, Greg. Let me know what you think.
Oh, I'm gonna go grab it tomorrow. This is. I'm like,
you might hate it, and I'm sorry if you do.
No, but it's good. It's good to try new films, though. That's the thing.
The other movie he made as a part of the deal was They Live.
Yeah, I know They Live. They Live.
So he's such a great filmmaker. He went, right, I can't make these big. I haven't got anything with the studio now. So he just went back to what he knows, which is inventive ensemble performances.
Yeah, sounds good.
Damn.
Any other classics that you love? I've written down a few ones from recent years that I've enjoyed as a non-horror enthusiast that has approved of some.
Oh.
Is it a horror, more of a thriller? I don't know. What about Get Out 2017? Jordan Peele.
Yeah. It's definitely a horror film.
Amazing film.
It's terrifying.
I thought Get Out was great. I've got Alien, of course.
Nice. That's my favorite horror movie set in space. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that when you said it earlier on. The Shining, and I really like Don't Breathe from 2016.
Yeah.
Really creative, I thought.
Very really good idea.
Oh, yes.
And again,
blind old man.
Yes.
Yeah, played by that amazing dude who was in Avatar, right?
Yeah.
He's like super buff, terrifying. He's a brilliant actor as well, obviously. Yeah, that's a really good shout. It's great to have. What's really great with a lot of horror movies, the ones that work really well, is that there's a rule that can't be broken. They just set up a simple rule: don't breathe, don't fall asleep,
right?
Don't be a teenager.
Don't go outside.
Don't go outside. Don't let anyone in.
But I was watching The Evil Dead the other week for the podcast, and one of the characters literally leaves the cabin. Is anybody out there? I was like, what are you doing? Do you not know the first rule?
Yeah. So the Evil Dead movies are amazing. They're some of my favorite horror films. Have you seen Evil Dead Rise?
I've only seen the first one.
Yes, mate, it's great. You've only seen Evil Dead, Chris?
Yes.
Right. Watch Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, I think you said this last time, and it's like the same film but with budget, right?
But
like
with budget, yeah. And it's fun. And Sam Raimi said, I just want to find new ways to hurt Bruce Campbell. So, and he does. In fairness.
Yeah, I will do. I enjoyed it. I thought it was definitely an interesting and different film for me to watch. Evil Dead.
Evil Dead 2 is great, but Evil Dead Rise is a really cool movie. Have you seen it, Greg?
Yes, that's the newest one that's just come out, right?
Yeah.
The
cheese grater.
Mommy's with the maggots now.
Oh, very good.
Horrific.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and again, another beautiful example of if the characters are just not quick enough or not smart enough, they're gone.
Yeah, it's
like they're not worried to kill the darlings in it, and I think that makes such great horror.
That's pretty good, and that's we'll talk about that when we do the blob. A lot of darlings killed in that, and also again a great rule: don't read from the book.
Right?
Don't read from the book.
Yep. Well, just with talking about like rules in horror movies, another one that's on like my little pile. Have either of you seen It Follows?
Oh.
So yes, this is without a shadow of a doubt, I think one of the best horror movies ever made.
Whoa!
Yep.
Have you seen it, Chris?
Yeah, I have. I've seen the film. I've not seen.
Sorry, so any again, audio listeners, it's a steel book, and it's got a lithograph cover where there's a certain shot in the movie where it's this like cloud of, is it red paint or is it actually blood? But it's this cloud of red smoke in the water moving slowly towards our main character. That I think is a brilliant movie. And the creator said it is a movie about a sexually transmitted ghost, and that is it in a nutshell. But it's the way in which everything's designed is terrifying, knowing that there is something out there and you don't know where it is, but it's constantly moving towards you. It will never run, it's just walking, and one day it's going to get you. And the thought of that, if you were to pass it on to somebody, if it then gets them, it's just going to turn around, come straight back for you. It's pure anxiety in a movie.
And when you see what happens to someone who it gets, you go, I don't want that. That's bad. Again, high concept, low budget.
Super low budget.
It's a great idea.
And speaking of which, final recommended movie, and this is really left field. Like I've mentioned this to so many people and nobody's seen it. It's a movie called Lake Mungo.
Oh,
so it's meant to feel like a documentary,
right?
But it's all entirely scripted, but the entire thing is meant to feel like it is a documentary, and it's a found footage kind of like horror movie where one day in this family, the oldest daughter just suddenly disappears, and then it's discovered that she's drowned and died in the lake, and so the son of the family has set up cameras around the house to kind of like film things in a bit of like in her memory. But when he's watching back the footage, he sees his sister in like certain shots. So she'll be like at the end of the garden, or she'll be like there's a shot in a corridor, and she'll walk past at the very end of the corridor, and it becomes this idea of is she actually a ghost, or is it that she never died and that she's alive and she's trying to now like haunt the family or like torture them or terrify them? It's brilliant. I don't want to say any more, but when you watch it, you would never think these are all actors. Not that's like discrediting their acting skills, but you would think that's
great.
Real.
Yeah,
because of how well it's done. So very, very left field, but Lake
thanks for that.
What year are we talking?
Very,
Greg?
very good. It's 2008.
Oh wow, recently, great. Okay,
2008. Yeah,
very good. That's another good bits podcast episode would be found footage movies.
Yeah, I was thinking about the Blair Witch. Is that considered?
Yes.
Oh yes.
We did an episode about that, like before the current format of the show, where someone like picks a movie. It was me and my old co-host. It was during COVID, and we were like, "Let's just watch some films. We'll talk about them over Zoom or whatever." And that was one of the ones that we both had never seen, and we did an episode about. And we both loved it, but we're also very disturbed by it, and just didn't expect what we got. And yeah, like really, really interesting one that I would be keen to watch again. And I'd like to watch the remake because I hadn't seen it, and I'd like to watch it.
Yeah, well, and again, that's that's high concept, no budget.
Right.
But what it was one of the first viral marketing movies.
Do you remember how well they advertised it?
Yeah,
because people thought these people, and they actually made missing posters for the actors.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm like, that's
very clever.
Insane.
Yeah, it's a brilliant idea. Brilliant. And you know, and I think it's a scary film, but you are watching a bunch of actors who have been starved and are terrified out of their minds.
Yeah.
So they say. I mean, I don't know, but you know,
yeah.
I'll do another quick one for you. Another recommendation: Malignant.
Ooh,
it is bonkers. You start off going, okay, yeah, got it, great. And then the last third of the movie, you go, what? It just goes bonkers, and I'm here for it all day. It's a great movie. I think it's James Wan, but there's so much.
Oh wow!
It's don't read anything about it. Just watch it.
That sounds great.
It's nuts.
Okay.
So I've got 5 films to watch on rotation before I go on holiday on Saturday. We have 30 Days of Night, Event Horizon, Prince of Darkness, Lake Mungo, and Malignant. What a great holiday countdown I'm going to have the next 5 days.
You're not going to get.
If you need one last recommendation, and I know Mike's seen this, so if you haven't already, there is one of my favorite just creators. I'm not even going to call him a filmmaker anymore, but just one of my favorite creators is Mike Flanagan. Who handles horror so deliciously, because his style is to give you so much build up. It's that feeling that you're about to have a jump scare, and then the jump scare doesn't come.
Negative space, and it's a lot of negative space. Yeah,
and he has made. I personally think is one of the best TV shows ever created on this planet, and it's called Midnight Mass. And it's
brilliant,
pure art. It's phenomenal. About 6-ish episodes.
Great.
Whole story tied up in a bow. Done.
It's beautiful.
And he's had this story in his back pocket for like 20 years, wanting to do it, never quite been able to do it. Phenomenal. And it was on a pure chance. I just clicked it on Netflix to be like, this looks good. It's just incredible.
Love that.
He made it exactly. I think it looks like he made it exactly how I wanted to, because it's beautiful. It is beautiful. That's a really good. And also, just another one quickly on Mike Flanagan, Doctor Sleep, the sequel to The Shining.
Yes, the sequel. It's so good.
Yes, I have
seen it.
So good.
My God, I walked into that film in the cinema not knowing it was a sequel to The Shining.
Oh, mate, that's amazing.
God.
Yeah,
such a good experience. I was like, what? What is happening?
Ewan McGregor is he's always brilliant, but he's phenomenal in that. As is Rebecca Ferguson. She's terrifying.
Oh, she's brilliant. As
great film.
What's her name? Something
Rose the Hat.
Rose the Hat. That's it.
Yeah. It's a great, and there's a horrible scene with a baseball boy. It's so hard. It's so hard to watch, and it's so brilliant. But it's great movie. Yeah, it's
Mike Flanagan did a a home invasion movie.
Oh.
And his wife is the lead actor in it.
They filmed it at their house.
Yep.
I'm trying to find it. It's called Hush. That's it. Came out in 2000.
Literally was on my list. I was about to say other modern
Yes.
ones. Hush, incredible film.
Yeah.
Oh, it's horrifying. Your lead character is deaf and mute,
Yes.
and they come under attack, and they can't call for help. There's no way of getting
Brilliant
out
film.
without the person that's waiting for them outside. It's just terrifying. But yeah,
Great.
Glad you mentioned Hush.
Okay. Well, at some point we'll have a chat about. There's a horror movie idea that I've got, and it's got a really good rule, but I'm not going to tell you here.
The suspense.
Nice. Well, listen, I feel like we've only just scratched the surface, but it's a good way to kind of put a bow on it there. Chatting about all of our favourite ones. If in a word you had to tell me, or numerous words, what is, if you had to think about it off the top of your head, favourite horror film? Go for it, Michael.
The Fog.
Scream.
Oh wow, really? I'll go with Jaws, but I also, I guess if we're not considering Jaws a horror, then I'll go The Shining. I also love Psycho. Never mentioned Psycho. I think Psycho's really good too. That was one of the ones that really got me into. It was one of those ones where I was like, okay, it's going to be a scary film. I'll just man up and watch it, and it wasn't too scary, but really good film. You know,
people are terrifying.
Yeah,
that's all
absolutely.
it is.
Yep.
And motels. Yep. Oh my god, must be terrifying. Anyway, thank you so much.
Mother now.
Listen, I love when Greg's on the show. Every so often he just brings up these random voices and it makes me laugh so much.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, thank you so much for your time this evening. I feel like we've not even scratched the surface on ones we can chat about. So I don't know if we have to wait all the way till next Halloween to chat about other scary films, but any film chat you want to do in general, just please, if you're looking for something to catch up on, please jump on the show. Always a pleasure to see you and catch up with you both. And yeah, you're welcome back anytime.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks for having us. It was brilliant. Yeah, cheers.
Until next time, folks, thank you very much for listening and for watching the Good Bit Podcast. Take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you all down the road.
Citizens